Admiral Zethkar's mandibles clicked nervously as he stared at the tactical display aboard his flagship. The combined armada of 7 species hung in perfect formation around Earth, 3,000 vessels strong, representing the most formidable military force the galaxy had ever assembled. Today was supposed to mark humanity's final capitulation. "Sir," his communications officer chirped, "the humans are requesting another delay. They claim they need 48 hours to—" "Denied," Zethkar snapped. "They've had 6 months to surrender since we began the blockade. No more games." The Galactic Council had been unanimous in their decision. Humanity had grown too dangerous, too unpredictable. In less than 2 centuries since first contact, they had somehow leapfrogged millennia of normal technological development. Their ships were crude but effective, their weapons unorthodox but devastating, and their tactics. Zethkar's secondary, hearts fluttered at the memory of the Battle of Proxima, where a single human cruiser had somehow disabled 12 Vorthak dreadnoughts using nothing but modified mining charges and sheer audacity. "Admiral," his sensor technician called out, her voice strained, "I'm detecting a massive gravitational anomaly forming at the edge of the system." Zethkar's attention snapped to the long-range displays. Space itself seemed to be bending. The distortion grew larger, more violent, until reality appeared to tear open like fabric. From within that impossible wound in space-time, something emerged. It was a ship, if the term even applied. The vessel stretched nearly 50 kilometers from bow to stern, its hull a patchwork of mismatched metals and technologies that shouldn't exist. Massive sections appeared to be held together with what looked suspiciously like industrial welding. Weapon emplacements jutted from every conceivable surface in chaotic arrays, some clearly retrofitted from other purposes entirely. The entire structure seemed to pulse with barely contained energy, crackling with lightning that danced between jury-rigged power conduits. "What in the name of the void is that thing?" Zethkar whispered. His intelligence officer frantically worked at his console. "Admiral, our databases show no record of any human vessel matching this configuration. It's registering energy signatures beyond our measurement capabilities." The alien ship, for lack of a better term, drifted into the system with surprising grace for something so massive and unwieldy-looking. As it approached the inner planets, every sensor array in the Armada screamed warnings. The vessel wasn't just heavily armed, it was leaking exotic radiation that shouldn't have been possible to contain, much less weaponize. "Sir," the communications officer's voice cracked with panic, "we're receiving a transmission from Earth." "Put it through," Zethkar commanded, his claws gripping his command throne. The holographic display flickered to life, revealing a weathered human face. Admiral Sarah Chen, Earth's military commander, looked tired but determined. Behind her, other humans worked frantically at what appeared to be hastily assembled equipment. "Admiral Zethkar," Chen began, her voice steady despite the chaos visible behind her. "I believe you're wondering about our new arrival." "What is that monstrosity?" Zethkar demanded. Chen's lips quirked into something that might have been a smile. "That, Admiral, is the HMES prototype, built during our early years in space. Before we knew what was possible, before we learned restraint." The massive vessel had moved into a high orbit around Earth, its weapons systems clearly visible and obviously powered. Several of the Armada's outlying ships were already requesting permission to withdraw to safer distances. "When we first achieved faster-than-light travel," Chen continued, "our engineers had this quaint idea that if something was worth doing, it was worth overdoing. The prototype was their masterpiece. A ship designed to carry enough firepower to crack planets with experimental drives that punch holes through dimensions, and shielding that operates on principles that violate 3 separate laws of physics." Zethkar felt his blood chill. Impossible. No species developed such technology so early. The resource requirements alone would bankrupt most civilizations, yes, Chen agreed. That's why we mothballed her after the first test flight. Turned out she was rather unstable. Also completely insane to operate. The crew rotation was monthly because staying aboard longer than that caused what our psychologists termed existential displacement syndrome. On the tactical display, the prototype's weapon systems were cycling through targeting solutions. Each sweep caused interference with the Armada's electronics. The thing is, Admiral, Chen's voice grew colder, we spent the last 6 months not preparing for surrender. We spent them tracking down the prototype's last known position and figuring out how to wake her up. Took us nearly 3 decades to find her, drifting in some pocket dimension our engineers accidentally created. You're bluffing, Zethkar snarled, though his certainty was wavering. 1 ship against 3,000, Admiral. His tactical officer interrupted, voice barely above a whisper. The vessel's targeting systems just locked onto our entire fleet simultaneously. All 3,000 ships. The computer says that should be mathematically impossible. Chen's smile widened. The prototype doesn't follow your mathematics, Admiral. She follows ours, and we were very creative in our youth. Across the Armada, warning klaxons began blaring as ships detected weapon locks. The massive human vessel hung in space like a technological nightmare. Its mismatched hull plates and chaotic design somehow more terrifying than the sleekest dreadnought. She's not even our best ship anymore, Chen added conversationally. Just our most enthusiastic. The question is, Admiral, do you really want to find out what happens when we stop playing by galactic conventions? Zethkar stared at the monstrous vessel, its weapons arrays glowing with barely contained violence. Around him, his command crew waited for orders, their faces pale with fear. For the first time in his career, the admiral of the combined galactic fleet gave an order he never thought he'd utter. All ships, begin immediate withdrawal from the system. As the Armada turned to flee, Chen's final words echoed across the communication channels. Wise choice, Admiral. The prototype gets cranky when she doesn't get to play. In the depths of space, the forgotten human warship pulsed with satisfied energy, watching 3,000 ships retreat into the darkness. Earth was safe and humanity's secret was secure once more. They had never learned to do anything halfway.